Here's something nobody ever thinks about. For almost your entire existence as a species, up was safe. Up was the sky. Up was where food grew, where the sun was, where you could see danger coming. And down? Down was bad. Down was where you buried the dead. Down was darkness. Down was the place things fell into and never came back. And yet, at some point, a human being looked at the solid ground beneath their feet and decided to dig into it, on purpose, with their bare hands, not to bury something, not to hide, but to take something out. That single decision, the choice to go down instead of out, is one of the strangest, most important turning points in human history, and almost nobody talks about it. So why did we do it? Why did a species that survived by looking up start clawing its way underground? Okay, before we go any further, real quick. If you're the kind of person who watches stuff like this and thinks, wait, I never even asked that question, then honestly, you're gonna love this channel. That's literally the whole point of it. So do me one tiny favor. Hit subscribe. That's it. It's free, it takes half a second, and it tells me you want more of these, the questions hiding in plain sight. Cool? Cool. Let's dig. Literally. So let's start at the beginning, the real beginning. The first time humans went underground, it wasn't for treasure. It wasn't for gold or gems or anything shiny. It was for a rock. A very specific rock. Flint. See, if you're a human living 40,000 years ago, your entire life depends on sharp edges. Cutting meat, scraping hides, making weapons. And the sharpest, most reliable stone you can get is flint. But here's the problem. Flint on the surface is garbage. Seriously, surface flint sits out in the sun, freezes at night, gets rained on, cracks, weathers, and by the time you find it, it's brittle. It shatters wrong. It's useless. But flint underground? Deep down, sealed in chalk, protected for thousands of years? That flint is perfect, fresh, strong, flawless. And somehow, ancient humans figured that out. There's a place in England called Grime's Graves, and it will genuinely mess with your head. It's a field, just a normal-looking grassy field full of little dips and bumps. For centuries, people thought those bumps were natural. Some even thought they were the homes of an ancient god. That's actually where the name comes from. But they were wrong. Because in the 1800s, someone finally dug in, and what they found underneath was insane. Over 400 mine shafts dug straight down into the earth, some of them 40 feet deep. All of it done more than 4,000 years ago, with tools made from deer antlers. Let that sink in. People with no metal, no machines, no ropes and pulleys like we'd imagine. They took the antlers off red deer, used them as picks, and dug tunnels into solid chalk in total darkness, just to reach the good flint. Archaeologists have found the antler picks still down there. You can even see the fingerprints, the grip marks worn into them. And some of the chalk walls still have the scratch marks from the digging. These weren't random holes. This was organized. This was a flint industry. Thousands of years before anyone wrote a single word. Okay, so the first reason we dug was survival. But the second reason? The second reason changed everything. Fire. Now, stay with me because this connects. Once humans mastered fire, they got curious. And curious humans throw things into fire just to see what happens. And one day, probably by accident, someone tossed a certain kind of greenish rock into a hot fire pit. And the rock bled. It oozed. It melted. And when the fire cooled, there was something left behind that had never existed in nature like that before. Something shiny. Something you could bend. Something you could shape into whatever you wanted. Metal. That green rock was copper ore. And the moment humans realized you could pull metal out of stone, the ground stopped being just dirt. The ground became a warehouse. Think about what that means. Before this, if you wanted something hard and sharp, you were stuck with whatever stone you could find. Take it or leave it. But metal? Metal you could melt. You could pour it. You could make it into an axe, a blade, a pot, a piece of jewelry. And if it broke, no big deal. You just melted it back down and made something new. That's not just an upgrade. That's a whole new relationship with the planet. And it meant one thing above all else. Humans needed to go deeper. Because surface copper runs out fast. The real deposits, the big ones, they're down in the rock. So we dug. And we dug. And we did not stop. Now, here's a question. How far would ancient people actually go for this stuff? Would they crawl into a pitch-black tunnel hundreds of feet underground with nothing but a tiny oil lamp where the air is thin, the walls could collapse, and one wrong move means you never see daylight again? Yeah, they would. Absolutely they would. There's a mine in Austria, way up in the mountains, where people were digging out salt over 3,000 years ago. And it was so cold and so sealed off down there that the mine actually preserved the miners' stuff, their leather shoes, their wooden tools, their backpacks, even bits of their clothing. We found it all, perfectly frozen in time. And salt might sound boring to you, but back then, salt was life. It was the only way to keep meat from rotting. No fridges, remember. Salt meant your food lasted through winter. Salt meant survival. So people literally spent their entire lives underground, chipping away in the dark just to keep everyone above ground alive. All right, survival, metal. Those two make sense, right? You dig for stuff you need. But here's the twist. Here's the reason that's honestly the weirdest of them all. Sometimes humans dug into the ground for reasons that had nothing to do with survival. They dug for beauty, for meaning, for the sacred. And this is where it gets strange. Deep in certain caves, I'm talking caves so deep you'd have to crawl for hundreds of feet through total blackness. We've found paintings, beautiful ones, animals, handprints, hunters, art that took real skill and real time. But here's the thing that gives archaeologists chills. Nobody lived down there. These paintings aren't near the cave entrances where people actually stayed warm and safe. They're deep, impossibly deep, in places you could only reach by squeezing through the dark, one person at a time, holding a flickering flame. So why? Why would someone risk their life crawling into the belly of the earth just to paint a picture almost no one would ever see? We think the answer is spiritual. We think that for these people, the ground wasn't just dirt and rock. It was a doorway, a place where the everyday world ended and something else began. Down there, in the dark, they weren't mining. They were reaching for something bigger than themselves. And this idea shows up everywhere, all over the ancient world. People dug tombs deep into the earth to send their dead into the next life. They dug pits and buried their most precious treasures, not to hide them from thieves, but as offerings, gifts to whatever they believed was down there in the dark. Think about how wild that is. They took the most valuable things they owned, gold, tools, food, and they gave it to the ground, on purpose, forever. Because to them, down wasn't empty. Down was where the gods lived. Down was where you went when you died. Down was powerful. So digging wasn't just work. Sometimes digging was prayer. Okay, so step back with me for a second. Look at the whole picture. Why did ancient humans dig into the ground? 3 reasons, and they build on each other perfectly. First, they dug to survive. Flint, salt, the basic stuff that kept them alive. Second, they dug to build. Copper, tin, gold, the metals that literally launched us out of the Stone Age and into everything that came after. And third, they dug for meaning. For their gods, their dead, their art. For things you can't hold but that mattered more than anything. And here's what blows my mind. It's the same action every single time. The same tired arms, the same darkness, the same dirt under the fingernails. But the reason kept evolving. From I need to eat all the way to I need to touch the divine. And here's the part that connects all of this to you right now, today. We never stopped. Look around. Everything in the modern world comes from the ground. The copper wiring in your walls, the lithium in your phone battery, the steel in your car, the gold on the circuit board of the device you're watching this on right now. Every single bit of it started the exact same way it started 40,000 years ago, with a human being deciding to dig down instead of looking up. We've just gotten better at it. We went from deer antlers to machines that can dig 2 miles into the earth. But the instinct is identical. There's still something in the rock we want, and we will still go into the dark to get it. So the next time you walk across a field, or a parking lot, or a hiking trail, just remember what's under your feet. Not just dirt, not just rock. A whole hidden world that humans have been reaching into for tens of thousands of years. For survival, for power, for meaning, for beauty. Our ancestors couldn't fly. They couldn't see the future. They couldn't explain half the world around them. But they figured out something we sometimes forget. That the most amazing things aren't always up in the sky. Sometimes the most valuable things in the whole world are hiding right beneath you, in the dark, in the quiet, waiting. You just have to be brave enough to dig. And hey, if you made it all the way here, you're exactly my kind of person. So go find the next question. It's one click away. I'll see you in the next one.